Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Retro Life for You, movies of the 1980s. And this week, well,
1980s.
of course, your host of the show, Chris Adams, and none other
Who
than
are
Travis,
you?
Travis Rollins there.
That's me. Oh Lord. Hey,
That's
if
you.
y'all watching this video, excuse my bumping around. I'm in a whole new setup, a whole new room. I'm got my setup on a dinner tray right now that's on wheels, so it's kind of wobbly.
And he's a little bit mad because he got a blurry background that he can't fix.
Yeah, I want to show off my toys. That's why I don't have. That's why I tell everybody I don't have a. You know how everybody has said they had a man cave. I don't got a man cave. I got a dragon den. That's where I have
See,
all my treasures.
you missed out on the bonus episode, man. Our favorite toys and presents growing up. I told everybody in that show if Travis was here,
Yep.
he'd already have his gray skull in the background. His Snake Mountain would be there.
Yeah, buddy.
The
Yeah, buddy.
Turbo Man doll would be there.
My Turbo Man.
Everything would have been there for sure.
For
But
sure. What are we doing this week, Chris? This is a
we,
fun one for the new year. Happy New Year!
yes, Happy New Year to everybody. Absolutely. It's going to be a
I hadn't
good
seen you
year.
since hadn't seen y'all since last year.
Last year, I know it's been such a long time, right? And it's going to be a good year this year, too. We are going to have a great year for this podcast. I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
Feel it in my bones.
In my
So many good
bones.
movies. I think some movies on this list we're gonna have to do full
Oh,
reviews on.
well, we definitely are, and some of them we may have already done. We're doing a top 10 list again. This is we've done in the past our top 10 favorites of 1980 and our top 10 favorites of 1987. This week we are going to do our top 10 favorites from 1982, and I
1982.
was not expecting. I mean, I remember a lot of these movies, but I don't remember always the year that they came out, and I was
Right.
not expecting to get a lot of so many choices to pick from that would
Mhm.
make it hard for me. But I guess every year is going to have great movies in it. It's just a matter of picking out which ones that you really want the most.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and before we actually get started, we have this little traditional here thing we do more or less of what we did since last time we were on, and I believe since last time you were on, Christmas has already passed by, had it not? So,
I think so.
or
Yeah.
or
No,
was
Christmas was last week.
or would did well Christmas
I
came
haven't been on
before
since Christmas.
Christmas came after we recorded Christmas Comes to Willow
Yes.
Creek.
Yes.
So how was your week? How was your Christmas and everything? Was everything good? I mean, you've been doing all right?
Spectacular. It's been a weird holiday season this year. Everything just it's been a blur. Everything happened fast. It seems like no one in the whole wide world was truly prepared like we think we have been in the past. It went by really quick. It just it was a strange one, but it was a good one. We had family time, and everybody was able to give and receive and love, and so it was all good. How about yourself?
The big thing for me was the family time. Really, I've been at that point for years now to where I don't really care about getting the Christmas gifts or anything. I just want the time to spend with everybody and visit,
For
have
sure.
fun, laugh, and everything. I told somebody just the other day that the best gift I think that we can give at this point in my lifetime is just our time and
Hmm.
being with people and enjoying the time we have, laughing, joking, talking about things, whatever, visiting, maybe having dinner or lunch or something. That was the big things I looked for this year. So I went to my mom's house and spent some time with her. Went to my sister's house where her kids were there and their kids, and we ate Christmas dinner there with them this year. We had a pretty good time. It was definitely good.
Nice.
And of course, with
That's
this,
a that's a Josh Turner has a song. Old South Carolina boy. He's got a song. The guy that sings "Long Black Train."
hmm
He's got a song called "Time Is Love." Yeah, it's a great one. Speaking on that same exact thing.
sounds right.
Time is love.
So, before we actually officially get started, if you're not following the show, make sure you go to the social medias there at Instagram and Facebook. You can follow us there and on YouTube as well. If you go to www.youtube.com/at retro life for you, I'll take you right to our homepage and you can watch all these fun videos and whatever little extras that we have out there and everything too. So make sure if you're on YouTube, you do check the notification bell so you get notified once we have something new come out too. So don't want to miss these faces, do you? I know. So Travis,
Yo, yo, yo.
we're doing our top tens. I'm gonna make you go first, man. What's your number? Well, we're not gonna say your number one because we're not really rating these from top 10 as far as favorite to least or anything. These just mine's a random order. I think you said yours was released. Your order, yours is in the order of how it was released through the year.
Mine,
Going on.
yep. What I'm trying to do is go through and go by the month that they released in order.
So, what do
But
you
it,
have for your first one then?
well, it just so happens that my first one is my favorite one on any list. Actually, it's a tight race between my number one and my number six in order of release. But this is one of both of those are two of my all-time favorite movies ever,
All right.
and came out on May 14th in 1982, and it's starring before his acting chops got to be what they are, where he's this Shakespearean level. It's Conan the Barbarian, man.
I knew that
One
was
of my
going to be on
favorite
yours.
movies of all time.
I
Period.
knew it. I
Point
knew it'd
blank.
be on yours.
Period.
There's no way you wouldn't have Conan on there.
Yeah, you got to. I got to. I can't do it. I love me
That's all
some
right.
Conan.
That's all
And
good.
we have yet to do a Conan movie, so that's gonna be I'm gonna be vying for that, people.
You mean we
We gotta
haven't
go get a
done one? We
Conan.
haven't done. We have not done a Conan movie. Are we guilty of
I don't
that?
think we have. I don't think we have. I
Shame
think we've
on
discussed it a
us.
lot, but we have not
Well,
done the Barbarian or the Destroyer. Maybe we'll do like a maybe we'll condense them into the Conan the Barbarian series.
I think that
I don't know
anything
if you can
with
call two movies a series, but
I mean, we could probably well, no, we don't want to combine them both into one. We can because we're going to rob ourselves of an episode if we do that. We could have them two separate episodes.
yeah.
We can still do that. All right.
Heck
Well,
yeah. What is your number one?
my first one, funny enough, as I was writing these down, I got them 1 through 10. No particular order of being favorite or anything. I just wrote down 10 movies on here of the
Uh-huh.
list. I compiled a list of about 18 movies. And then
Yes.
I shortened it down to the 10, and then I got five honorable mentions later on that we're going to bring out. So, but
I
my
got 20 wrote down.
my first movie is First Blood.
Very nice.
How about that? First movie, First Blood.
First and first.
This movie came out October 22nd in 1982 by Orion Pictures. Um, it stars Sylvester Stallone. Everybody knows Rambo, right? John Rambo. That's what First Blood is
Yeah.
about. And
Yeah.
he went on to make successfully a franchise of these movies. What, all the way up to five or six? I think it's five. It may
Rambo.
be, yeah, it's either
There's
five
a
or
there's a
five or
lot of
six.
them because he's got one that's just the last one was just called Rambo, I think.
That's what I'm saying. It's either five or six. I can't remember which it is for sure.
It's a good many of them
So,
for show.
um, yeah, that's one of them. I always enjoyed it. Matter of fact, it was on earlier today. The
Really?
Sundance Network channel on Sundance has a First Blood marathon going on. First Blood was on, then Rambo First Blood Part Two, and I'm pretty sure if that's the case. Then Rambo 3 probably came on right after that. So,
Right on.
but John Rambo is one of the heroes of the '80s that we all loved, and definitely well worth watching. So,
For sure. For
so
sure.
what's your number two there?
Number two. Now, speaking of our list, I wrote down. I picked a 20. Like so, before I narrowed it down, I picked mine out to where it's like you. These are must see. This is must see TV. This is like these 20 movies are the ones that like you have to watch them. Don't miss them. Go watch them. So my number two came out on June 4th, and had a. I'm just gonna throw this out there for fun because of the kind of movie it is. Had a budget of $12 million, and opening weekend it grossed 14 million, a little over that, and all time worldwide it grossed $95 million.
Wow.
And that's going to be what is arguably the best of the series is Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek 2. The Wrath of Khan. That movie.
Con.
Oh, that's the movie that made me have a thing about bugs crawling in my ears. When I go camping, I have to have my ears covered up because I'm afraid of bugs won't crawl in them. And then I found out about earwigs are a real thing, and the reason they're named earwigs, and it just made it even worse. Those of y'all that haven't seen The Wrath of Khan, it's a horrible, horrible thing. What is it? Does it make you tell the truth? It don't make you tell the truth. It's just a torture, isn't it? Where they pulled a thing. It
Man,
looks like an ant lion, is what it truly. It looks like a big ant lion, which is also a real thing. And they pull like its larva out of its back and stick it in homeboy's ear. Oh.
I really can't remember if it's a torture or some kind of device that makes you tell things or something or what, but I do remember it, and I remember as a kid turning my head away and not watching after the
Oh,
first. I
dude.
saw it the first time. The second time I knew it was coming. I'm like, no, I ain't doing this.
Yeah, bro. The demons
No.
and Freddy and everybody else wasn't as scary as that, bro. That's like the worst. So, okay, we got to leave that alone. I'm gonna have nightmares. What is your number two?
Well, number two, funny enough, I followed in the same footsteps as number one because number one was my first had first in it. Number two
Is number
represents,
three?
well, no, number two represents 2 days.
Oh,
Oh, we're talking about 48 hours. That
nice.
should we call it a buddy cop since one of them's not a cop?
I mean, yeah,
Because I mean, it feels like a buddy cop.
Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say that's. I mean, yeah, because I'm your worst nightmare. With a badge.
December 8th, 1982.
So he was an honorary.
Yeah,
I would call it a buddy cop movie for
you
sure.
got $12 million budget and gross worldwide 78.8 million. Got
Heck yeah.
it has a lot of funny lines in it. Eddie Murphy is just comedic genius when it comes down to it, and Nick Nolte played his part well. Nick Nolte plays the role of Jack, and
Nick
Eddie
Nolte is
Murphy is
funny too,
Reggie.
though, bro.
Yeah,
Nick Nolte's
and
funny too, though.
well, there's this part they're together, and Reggie, which is Eddie Murphy, says, "Jack, tell me a story." He's like, "F you." He goes, "Oh, that's one of my favorites." you know, the movie itself is very funny. It's about
he was in a
basically,
movie with he was in a movie with Bette Midler where he was like a bum that came in and was giving people
yes,
massage. It was
um,
hilarious.
Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
Is that it?
I
It
believe
that
so.
movie is absolutely hilarious.
I'm pretty sure it's what it is. The movie also has an Ed O'Toole and Brian James in it and Sonny Landham.
Hmm.
Sonny Landham's in a lot of our movies that we like in the '80s. He's definitely recognizable when you see him. You can't miss him. And Brian James, we know him more from Tango and Cash playing the role of Ponytail.
Yeah.
So Plan C, what's Plan C?
What's Plan C?
Fubar. But yeah, I love that movie. I love the next 48 hours when they did the second one. That was good as well. Later in
Yep.
the '80s and everything. So you can't go wrong with Eddie Murphy early in his career for sure. That's when his best movies came out. I feel the older he got, the more responsible adult like he tried to be, and it just wasn't the same.
Yeah, I like the Flubber movie. No, that wasn't him. That was Robin Williams. What was I thinking of? It was around the same Nutty Professor.
Yeah, Nutty Professor was pretty what was funny, but some of the other stuff he did was really just like like the daycare thing was a daddy daycare.
Yeah.
I didn't care too much for
It was
that, or
cute. It was cute.
yeah, it's one of those kind of things. I just didn't
But
really.
like, bro,
But
when
when I
you go
see
back
Eddie
like
Murphy, I want raunchy humor. Eddie Murphy.
yeah, a lot of people didn't like Vampire in Brooklyn. I loved Vampire in Brooklyn. I
I
thought that
didn't
was real
like it
funny.
either. I didn't
I
like it
thought it was
either.
great, man. Would with not Arsenio Hall. Oh, Dwayne Wayne. Would you give me a brain aneurysm or something? Like,
Amorism.
and it had the dad off of Friday in it, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's your number three?
Oh, good old classic. One of the old ones that was adapted from Stephen King novel, starring. I think he was like one of the OG first. He may have been the first member of the what is it, Millionaires Club, which would be Mr. Kurt Russell. That's
Oh, I
gonna
know
be
where you're.
June.
I know where you're going.
Yeah. That's gonna be June 25th. With I think it only had an all-time worldwide box office intake of about 15 million. But we're talking about the Thing,
Yeah.
classic horror, man.
Did it leave you? Did it not leave you wondering at the end of it if it was actually if the thing was actually dead or not? I mean, you didn't know if
Absolutely,
you didn't know if one of them was infected, and they just left you hanging and wondering.
absolutely. And dude, I think one of the coolest things about that too is for the time, the spider head, the head that came out with the legs and stuff, dude, that
Yeah,
was just amazing special effects for the time.
yeah, very good, very good. Um, and gosh, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. You making me want to watch that one again. And
Yes.
I didn't even write that one down. I must have
Oh,
skipped over
really?
that. I must have skipped over it
Oh, you
somehow.
missed it. You missed it.
I had to because I would have wrote it down. Wow.
Heck yeah. So, what was your number three
Well,
Dale Earnhardt? What was your Dale Earnhardt movie?
following in my tradition so far of movies with numbers
You
that
going to
match
go
the
with
number,
Rocky? Hey, yo.
Rocky 3. Rocky 3 is
Nice.
on there where he
Rocky
has
style.
lost his trainer in Mick. He's got Clubber Lang played by Mr. T.
Yeah.
And in order to get his title back, he lost to Clubber Lang and regain his boxing status. He had to team up with a guy that he went toe to toe with twice, and
Yeah, buddy.
about killed each other basically. Apollo Creed.
Mr. Apollo Creed.
Apollo taught him how to put a little
Build power. Put bombs on them. He
put
said,
a
we're going to build
little
bombs.
pep in his step, a little flow going on there.
Yeah.
Got to move dancing around the ring and everything, and it was a fun movie. I love back in the day. I told you this story once before. I'm sure, maybe probably two or three times. Back in the day when those video disc players were out, and my mom would rent them for us. I'd always get her
Yeah.
to get Rocky 3 for me, and I wouldn't even bother putting the first side of the disc on. I would automatically flip it over to the second side because
Yeah.
that's where it starts at Apollo's gym, where we're starting to train.
Yeah. Where they're running and hugging on the beach in their knee high Kool-Aid socks.
Hey, that's yeah. There you go. Oh, excuse me, sir.
Ebony and ivory.
Today we call those compression socks. Okay,
Compression
because
socks.
the older people like myself, we had to kind of wear them compression socks, man, because our feet and legs they swell.
Maybe. Maybe.
You know
I
you
do the
do it.
diabetic ones.
You know you do it.
I wear the diabetic socks.
That's what we'll see. That those are knee high socks
They're
too, aren't they?
looser. Those are no, they're real loose laced. They're like they're not as thick and the weave in them isn't as tight as
Yeah.
a regular sock, as a gym sock.
Well, I'm not going to go over the everything with Rocky 3. We all know it's a Sylvester Stallone and Carl Weathers and Burt Young and Talia Shire. Hey, Talia Shire. By the way, do you know a little trivia about Talia Shire? That
None.
she was in a little TV show on Saturday mornings years and years ago. Her and another woman, they were superheroes, kind of like Batman and Robin together. They were superheroes, two female superheroes together. But she was not under the name Talia Shire.
Hmm.
It was either uh, Talia Coppola or Talia Shire Coppola, one of the two.
Oh yeah, we were
She
talking about that because we were talking about whether or not she was related to Francis Ford Coppola. We were talking about that a
Yes,
few weeks ago on
I
one of the
couldn't remember
shows.
if we had to talk or not. I know me and Marty talked about it. I know if you and I did or
Yep,
not. So I thought that was
certainly,
kind of cool. I didn't know that till just recently. I never knew that over the years.
certainly.
So moving on to your number four.
Oh, sorry, I started looking up Talia Shire. My number four. Let me make sure I'm in the right timeline here. Okay, yes. Okay, so my number four is going to have to be one of the first ones that was just like wow for me. The first like video game movie because I was so into video games. Still
Mhm.
am into video games and all the nerd things. Uh, this is a would it be a cult classic? I don't know, but
It might
Tron
be.
on July the 9th. Tron was absolutely amazing, and so was the second one, Tron 2, where they brought Jeff Bridges back. So it was like his son. So he was the son in the first one, and then he's his son in the second one, or whatever. But yeah, Tron, Did you see Tron?
Oh,
Did
I
you
know
go
when I
see
was a kid,
Tron in the theaters?
not in the theaters, no, but I did see it
Mm,
though. It was a rental for me.
yeah, remember what I told y'all too? These are must see movies. Now, if you go back and watch Tron nowadays, though, the original Tron, you're gonna be like, "What?" But no, believe me, for then it was amazing
Right.
for the time period.
I think pretty much any of these movies we mentioned are going to be some must see movies if you are wanting
All
to.
of them. This entire
Uh,
list.
yeah, if you're a person who's just starting to watch these '80s movies and enjoy them, or even if you just want, if you're someone who has been through it already and you want to just go back and look at them again, definitely some must watch or must rewatch in that case.
Absolutely. Or if you're just trying to do like I'm gonna watch the 10 best movies from from this year. You can pick just 10, any 10 off of these lists, and you're gonna be in good shape.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Um, I am
it's your
going
number
to.
four. Is there any way possible that you made a fourth movie, like something I don't know, like
No, 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 no.
Toxic Avenger 4 or something?
No, number four is not going with the rest of them as it is. It's just a standalone movie by itself, and I'm probably taking one from you.
Oh,
This is probably one of them. I'm gonna jump in and say, and you're probably gonna have it because I don't know when it came out, so you're
hmm
probably going to have it after the fact. But it's Mark Singer and Tanya Roberts.
that's my second favorite movie of all time.
I thought you were going that way.
It's fighting for
Beastmaster.
first place. It's fighting for first place.
Yep.
Yeah, as a
Very
matter of fact, check this out. Sitting right here on my shelf. Look at here. Just reach back and grab it.
well. You're gonna have to because it's blurry back here.
I know, right? Look, it won't even. I'm gonna put it even with my face. Look, it won't even pick it up. I
That's
gotta put my hand in
crazy.
front of it.
He is
Look at
having
this.
such difficulty with his camera today. It's hilarious.
That's the old VHS though, boy.
Yeah,
Probably wore slap out.
that's all
Probably
right.
watched that movie a million times.
That's all good. Now you talking about things freaking you out? You mentioned the earwigs and the Wrath of Khan and all that.
Did the
Those
bird people freak you out?
those creatures are they bird people? They would put.
Yeah, the
I
ones
don't
that
think they
come
were.
in, they swooped down and they closed them up and did like this,
Yes,
shook them,
that.
and then they let them go and they turned into bones.
Yes, that. I was like, man,
Yeah,
that got me as a kid. That kind of freaked me out a little bit. I
yeah,
was
because they
like
could fly, so they were like owl people or bird people or something.
something, but I mean, they just it encompass you with this little what looks like a bag or something. It's like
It's their
wings
wings.
or wings they wrap around and it looks like you're inside of a bag trying to fight your way out. And the
Yeah,
more you fight, the more they shake, and then it's just like bones and
yep.
bile and
So they
everything
suck the
coming out.
bones off of you. Just you
And they're
just
doing
they open
something.
up their arms and you just a pile of bones and juice.
But now, if this goes along the same lines of like Conan or Tarzan or something like that,
Surely
Beast,
it's a fantasy film.
yeah, fantasy film Beastmaster. He has his little ferrets that are his friends he works with. He's got the hawk or falcon,
hmm
whatever it is. Uh, he can communicate basically with the animals. It seems like, or they understand him, and he understands
hmm
them somehow. Wasn't there a panther also?
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a
panther as well.
panther and two ferrets and I think an eagle, like a
It's
golden eagle.
an eagle, a hawk, or something. I forget what it was for
I
sure,
think
but
it's
he's
a
got
golden eagle that they used for the movie.
okay. Yeah, and it's just such a fun movie though. So if you get a chance, definitely
It is,
if you haven't
honest to
checked it
God.
out, definitely check it out.
This that honestly, that is like I don't know which one I like better, that one or Conan. Like those two movies are my all time. Those are two of my all time favorite movies
As
ever.
many times as you have quoted it, it's got to be Conan.
There's got to be Conan.
Definitely. All right. Well,
Beastmaster is right there in second place though, but it's not as quick. Yeah, Conan's got to beat it out because Conan, dude, Conan the Barbarian has philosophy in it, like some real philosophy. Like if you pay attention to Conan, there's some, dude. That movie's deep for real.
yeah. He's
So
like
anyway,
his philosophy is like check out the size of my bicep. It's
yeah, he's like, look how vascular I am, bro. I wonder if you could do Stewie with it. Look how vascular I am, Brian. That's what girls like, a vascular man.
I don't know if they quite mix well. I don't think that
No, they don't think
works.
so.
That doesn't
I
work.
got veins that carry blood all over my body. All right, number five.
Number 5.
Johnny Five still alive. Johnny
I was
Five is
bu- I was
alive.
about to say Travis is still alive with number 5.
Ah, number five. I surprised myself picking this instead of one of the
Ooh,
other ones off to the side,
yeah,
but um, I think it deserves it, especially with it being a little lesser known than some of my other ones on the right hand side. My number five came out on July 28th of 1982. Um, actually, it was made a lot of money. Actually, it's ranked number 360 of all-time worldwide box office for R-rated movies. It at 129,795,554 dollars. I didn't know this movie was that big. It's an officer and a gentleman, Louis Gossett Jr. and a pretty woman dude, Richard Gere.
Richard Gere. And
Great, great movie.
that was the soundtrack that brought us "Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong," right?
Love, yeah, yeah, yeah. Love lifts us up where we belong.
Bonus points if you can tell us who sang it.
Oh, it's Kenny Rogers and uh,
No, no, no,
they
no
did a
already.
version. Kenny Rogers did it. I could hear him singing it. Uh, I nope. I can't. You got me on that one. My brain, ain't my
That was,
my Rolodex ain't working.
I believe it was Joe Cocker along with Jennifer Warnes.
Joe Cocker and Jennifer Lawrence.
No, Warnes, the one that
Warren's
the same one that was with
Dirty
Dirty
Dancing.
Dancing. It's the same
Yeah,
one with that.
Dirty Dancing. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Joe Cocker. You're right.
Yeah, definitely Joe Cocker though for sure.
Joe Cocker and Jennifer Warren. Heck yeah.
Yep. And I believe also
She did a
who was
good
the
job. I
lead?
wonder why she didn't sing more.
I don't know. Who was the lead woman? Was it Deborah Winger?
I don't remember.
I think it was Deborah Winger. I was going to put this on mine, and I backed out at the last minute. It was going to be an honorable mention, and then I backed out for something else that I should have replaced it with. But we'll get to that later, though.
Heck yeah. Well, what is your middle of the list?
Middle of the list, number 5. I went with probably one of the best comedies of the year, because other than having like a funny man like Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours,
Hmm.
we had probably a funnier man or the next funniest, depending on how you looked at it and where your fandom was, in Richard Pryor.
I know which one this is.
Yeah, Richard Pryor, Jackie Gleason. We're going
Yep.
with the toy.
The toy. Very good. Very good.
The toy. It's about Jackie Gleason's kid. He wants all the best. He
Rich.
gives him all the best he can get, basically. Anything
Yeah.
that he wants, he gets. So he sees him and he wants
They
him because
got
he thinks he's
money.
funny. It makes him laugh. So he takes that. So Richard Pryor's character takes the money and goes with it and ends up, basically teaching the boy a lesson, more or less about,
I'm
what
not sorry I took the money.
life.
I'm sorry I took the money.
Let's
I
see.
lied. I'm not sorry.
Stop it.
That's Paul
Uh,
Rubens.
Jazzy Jekyll. Ned Beatty was in it. Scott Schwartz was in it. He's the one that played the kid, actually.
I
Now you,
see
now
your
you know who
Schwartz
that.
is
You
as
know who
big
he is,
as
don't you?
mine.
You know who he is, don't you? Scott
No,
Schwartz.
no.
If I'm not mistaken, he was in A Christmas Story too, wasn't he?
Oh, okay.
Wasn't he
You
one
think it
of
was a little
Ralphie's
boy?
friends?
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe.
He's not the one that put his tongue to the pole. He's the one that dared him to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I
just not seeing him and
see your
noticing that.
Schwartz is as big as mine. Rick Moranis.
Genetics.
Rick Moranis' Dark Helmet is one of the greatest roles ever in history.
He is funny, is he not?
Now you know evil will always win because good is dumb.
See, now look, I don't know if you had a movie that came out in December or not, since you're doing it that way. But this movie came out December 10th, 1982. You could have went with that.
December
$17 million
10th. I could have.
budget, grossed 47 million.
Pretty good.
An hour and 42 minutes of nothing but nonstop laughter.
Heck yeah.
Moving right along,
Moving right along.
we go.
Footloose and fancy free.
That's what I was thinking. Second half of the list. What's your number 6?
All right, so you know this movie's got to be spectacular. If you only watch one movie off of this list, this has to be the movie. It came out on August 20th. It's weird that it only doubled its budget at $10 million. It's going to be The Beastmaster with Mark Singer. It's like we just talked about a while
Where have
ago.
I heard that at before?
Oh, I wonder. Hmm. With
Sounds
those crazy
familiar.
people throwing children into the pit fire like the Aztecs or something.
Man,
That dude, who was that dude? Who was that dude? Mark, no, Mark Singer was Dar.
yeah,
Rip Thorn was
yeah.
Max. Yeah, that dude was evil.
Evil.
Evil. The Diet Coke of evil. Just 1 calorie. Not quite evil enough. Yeah.
Oh
So
my.
I guess we can move. We can move right along. We don't touted how awesome the Beastmaster is. It's just
We did. We
super
talked it
duper
up.
great movie. So
Go
let's
watch
move
it.
on to
Yeah.
your number six, which would technically be June.
Number six. Well, that's
That's
going
what
in
you
the
could do.
way.
You could. We should do 12 movies, and then you got one movie of every month to watch. That's going to be our next list. What movie should you watch in the month of each month of the year from
We
the
could do
80s?
that. We could do that. This movie didn't come out in June. It came out July 16th of 1982.
Pretty close.
Grossed 20,225,000 at the box office. No
Hmm.
listed. You know. Uh, Nothing else listed for us in the movie as far as that goes. Hour and 48 minutes, and it's got somebody in this movie that is like one of those childhood crushes a lot of us had in Diane Lane
Ooh.
and Aaron Gray as far as that goes.
Ooh.
But we got Kenny Rogers playing Mr. Brewster Baker
Ooh.
in the movie Six Pack. Number six
Ooh.
for me is
Six
Six
pack.
Pack.
Ooh.
We did do this one. We covered this one.
We did this one.
Yes, we did.
All them
This
little
is
kids in the race car.
Terry Kaiser is the opposing racer named Turk, and the most notable kid in the group, other than Diane Lane, was Anthony Michael Hall, played Doc. I think this was his first film or second film, one of the two.
Well, my halfway up, but other than that, I'm fine, Lisa.
Lisa,
Lisa. That is one of my all time favorite movies too, dude. Without a doubt.
but it's not 1982 though, so
It's
we
not
can't
in
go there.
1982, but Anthony Michael
Basically,
Hall is the man. He was in the last either the last or next to last Halloween movie I just watched with Jodie Foster and Mike Myers and all. He was like he played some friends of the
Jodie
family or
Foster.
something. Not Jodie Foster. Did I say Jodie Foster?
Yeah,
What in the world?
you mean Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
Of course.
Of course.
I don't know how Jodie Foster even entered my mind.
Who knows?
That's odd.
I mean, she looks nothing like her.
Anyway, and I like Anthony Michael Hall. He's cool. Oh,
Did
you know what he also did? Remember the old movie with uh shoot, you know, the guy he talks like this, Christopher Walken.
Yeah, the
Uh
Dead Zone.
The Dead
He,
Zone. Anthony
he
Michael
did
Hall did a
the
TV
TV
show with the Dead
series.
Zone. Yeah, and it was very
Yeah.
good. I had it. I used to have it on DVD.
And I think that was one of the things that kind of revived his career a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. He wasn't
Yeah,
doing much for movies or anything. Then he had that TV show come out, and
yeah. It was a
he
good show.
showed him. Yeah.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
that show.
Well, moving on to your seven. What's your seven pick?
Number seven for Sunday's watch for November the 3rd. It's one of my mother's favorite, absolute favorite movies. And the cool thing is in it too. One of the reasons it's one of her absolute favorite movies with the popularity of Yellowstone and Costner doing what he can to revive the Western genre with that other movie he's doing. The Man from Snowy River. If you want to see some real horse riding, it's like
Hmm.
for real. Watch this movie. This boy, there's one part where he runs down a hill on a horse, and I'm telling you what, that horse and that rider was both the real deal. But it's good. It's like I said, it came out on November 3rd. It's an Australian movie. It's got the Douglas, the original Douglas with the big dent. Kirk. It's got Kirk Douglas in it. He plays Harrison. He's the ranch boss or the owner of the ranch that Jim goes to work on, and it's just they just go through stuff. It's a Western drama type thing. It's not like a cowboy bang bang shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
There's bits and pieces of that, but the Man for Snowy River is a great, great, great movie, and highly overlooked. And I just did those out of order, but that's cool. I'll do October next.
It's all good.
I got two from November, so we're good. But yeah, Man from Snowy River, y'all need to go check that one out. Have you seen Man from Snowy River?
Long time ago. It's one
Ah,
of those movies that where when we rented movies on the weekend, I'm sure my mom rented it, and it was just one of those kind of to me, it's kind of a filler movie, because we would get two or three movies, and it would be one that I like, one my sister liked, and my mom would pick one out.
ah,
And so I'm sure she liked it a lot, but
oh yeah,
to me, it was just like, well, this is pretty cool. It's pretty good.
right.
I mean, it held my attention and everything, but I mean, it's not like I was watching, like one of those ninja flicks or something, or Chuck
Yeah.
Norris, or
Well, you got to think too. Like I said, this is kind of more of a drama than it is a bang bang shoot 'em up. There's a little love story
right,
going on with it.
right.
You got the return of the Man from Snowy River as well, which I watched that with my mom. Uh, this is more think along the lines of Lonesome Dove. It's
And I
more
like
along the lines
Lonesome.
of Lonesome Dove.
I like Lonesome Dove as well too. So,
Yeah,
all right.
great,
Well,
great.
I went
More
the
Sunday movie.
direction. I went the direction of number seven there. The direction of a slasher horror kind of action, maybe a
Ooh,
little crime kind of feel to it because the
uh
guy was
oh,
a serial killer or something. I guess. Uh,
really?
maybe even a little sci-fi and thriller feel to it as well.
Oh,
Kind of a mixed feel of a lot of it's like a mixed bag of emotions for a movie,
yeah. The
and
only
it
one I can come up with
stars
at the top of my head.
the man that once swam around the Virgin Islands named Chuck Norris. He once swam around the Virgin Islands, and
Oh,
after the fact, they just renamed them the islands.
oh,
Um, so it's called Silent Rage,
okay.
and this was a really pretty good. It's a movie with Chuck Norris. You might not
I have
figure
not
he
seen
would
it.
do. You haven't seen it,
I have not
so
seen it. You got one. I'm writing this down right now so I can go
yeah.
watch it. This is a Chuck
So
movie I have not seen.
Chuck Norris, Ron Silver, Stephen Keats. I think Stephen Keats is the killer. And then there's Ron Silver plays the doctor in it, and of course Chuck Norris is the sheriff. Now there's this one. There's one thing where the deputy calls, I guess the sheriff over to the bar where some bikers are. They're giving a hard time, and he goes in and he whips all the bikers. That was the highlight for me as far as the karate goes, or something. Everything else is just kind of your standard cop type movie where he's trying to kill the guy, and he's having a hard
Mm.
time killing the guy. It's like he just keeps coming or something. So hence the sci-fi and the thriller part about it and
Mm.
everything. Definitely worth a watch, especially if you're a Chuck Norris fan too. So
Yeah, I'm
I'll tell you
definitely gonna,
some.
I'm gonna have to go check it out.
I'm gonna tell you something else about Chuck Norris that a lot of people don't know when they talk about. Oh, I've seen all the Chuck Norris's movies. I know them all. I watched
Okay.
Braddock. I watched Lone Wolf McQuade. I saw The Forced Vengeance. I
Yeah.
saw, I saw all those. I'm like, did you see Breaker Breaker? See what?
Hmm. Breaker, breaker.
I said, what? Was
Right,
he like? Well, what's Breaker Breaker? Was he like? That sounds like a trucker. Yeah, he was a
right.
trucker.
He was a trucker.
Definitely a good movie too. Too
Big
bad it was well before this one though. So yeah, that's going my number seven right there. Sci-fi thriller, action. Chuck Norris in Silent
I dig it.
Rage.
I dig it. I dig it.
Well, if you dig that, what can you dig at number eight?
I can dig it. You can dig it. We can dig it. We can dig it.
Hmm.
All right, we're gonna jump back to October
Is there
22nd and
a frog over there?
yeah. Absolutely,
dig
Heidi Ho, Kermit the Frog here. We're gonna
it,
go back
dig
to
it.
another overlap, a double up, which means you have to watch this movie. It's First Blood, baby. Over John Rambo. He was just minding his business, man. Coming out of the woods, Green Beret. He was just trying to hang out. He just came
He
into town with
just
some
wanted something
supplies,
to
man.
eat. No, he just wanted something to eat.
Yeah,
That's
he just
all.
wanted something to eat, man. He just wanted some dang. He just wanted some hash browns and some waffles. You know, they had to mess with him.
He wanted some vittles.
Yeah, he just wanted some vittles, and then they had to be the way they was. I don't know. They should have never messed with him.
So let's see. We crossed over two movies, right?
Yep,
So it's
Rambo and Beastmaster, which means those are the
Beastman.
two you have to watch.
Absolutely, those are two for sure. In all right.
Which is
Well,
crazy because one is one that probably everyone's seen, and the other one's probably one that hardly anyone has seen.
uh, oh man, if you grew up in the '80s, you had to have seen Beastmaster. It was just a
Yeah,
popular, it's such a popular thing back then.
it was on TV a lot too. That's what the thing about. Um, I think it was either the bird people or the witches with the hands and the eye in their hand or whatever that my mom turned it off. She said I was 3 years old, 3 or 4. And when she turned the movie because she was afraid I was going to get scared, I screamed and yelled for till she turned it back and said when it went off, I cried because it was over. Now that's a good movie. If you got a 3 or 4 year old crying because the movie's over, like I want more. Come on now.
Bring it on. All right. Well,
What is your number 8?
my number eight's a horror movie. We're going down
Like
the aisle of scary here.
this is so unlike you. I'm impressed here.
Well, I mean, it's the only horror movie I have on here. If you don't count Silent Rage, Silent Rage is more
Okay.
thriller than horror.
Yeah.
This is horror though, and it's a we've done this one recently
Hmm.
in the month of October.
Oh, Poe.
Once again though, they're
Yeah,
here.
they're here.
Poltergeist.
Good old poltergeist.
Yeah, Poltergeist. We had what was dude's name that played Coach?
Craig T. Nelson.
Craig T. Nelson. Yes, Craig T. Nelson, the father in this movie. The little girl, everybody just knew that little girl when they'd see her because she's just had that iconic look, I guess, to her. Well, we talked about some of the trivia stuff here, how she almost did Firestarter and Drew Barrymore almost did Poltergeist, and
Yep.
they ended up flip flopping on what they got. But little Carol Ann was
Little
not
Carol
supposed
Ann.
to. She was, I think, she was not supposed to go toward the light,
She
but
wasn't.
uh, but
She
she
ended up in the
did.
TV.
That's right.
What the heck?
Creepy, very creepy movie, very kind of at the time, very scary movie. The worst part about that movie, as far as scary for me goes, was the darn clown sitting on the chair in the boy's bedroom. And then he
Yeah.
looks and the clown's not sitting there no more.
Yeah,
but
that
but
one was a little funky.
but it made one of the funniest scenes for a scary movie that I had ever
Hmm.
seen. So
Yeah.
well, it's a
You want to
come
play?
on. Yeah,
Come on, come here, Uncle Ray Ray.
Uncle Ray Ray.
Uncle
And then
Ray Ray. You
the
want to
clown
tickle?
has this scared look on its face.
Yeah. You want to tickle?
All right, let's
That'd be
move on
good.
to your number nine. We're almost at the end of our top 10.
We're getting
What's your
close, buddy. We're
what's
getting
your number
close.
nine?
My number 9 came out on November the 10th of 1982. Domestic box office of 20 million $36,244. With a
Ooh,
production budget of 8 million, which is pretty good. Now, mine is also a horror movie, and it was it was funny to me too that I didn't. I think this is technically well, no, the thing was a horror movie. I had that on the list, but as a horror fan, any diehard horror fan would be hard pressed to make a list from this year and not have the Creep Show on their list because the Creep Show is so classic, it's so huge, it's so synonymous. Like if you think of scary movies from the 80s, the Creep Show has got to be way up on your list. Like that was we rented that one. Lord, well, there ain't no telling how many times we rented the Creep Show.
well, probably quite
Like
a
when we
few times.
going to the uh video cavern. That's what it was called, the video cavern.
Video cavern.
That's where I used to. We didn't have a blockbuster when we moved back from from Aiken into Graycourt, a tiny, tiny little town, and we didn't have a daggum blockbuster or pick a flick or nothing like that. We had the
We
video
had
cavern.
in my small town, we had Silver Bullet Video,
Nice. I
and
like it. I
it
like
was
it.
in the corner end of a gas station there. Well, we'll say convenience store. It wasn't just a gas station.
Heck
But
yeah. So those of you that hadn't seen the Creep Show, this a it's an amalgamation. What do they call this? An anthem? Not an anthem. It sounds like that though. You know what I mean? Like when you have a bunch of stuff in one. I forget what they call it. And not an anthem. An anthology. It's
oh,
like an anthology. Uh, you got five different tales. One's about a dude coming back for his Father's Day cake. The other one's about another one's about a husband uh burying his wife and the dude she was cheating on him with in at the beach, but he like he didn't kill him, he buried him like up to their necks. You know how you see people do the thing where they had their necks sticking out?
right.
So like he buried them on there. And then see,
Was
was
that
a
the was
creature.
that the one where it's buried at the beach and the tide's coming in?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It was stuck down in there. Yeah,
yeah,
and you got a one of them, the last one, something. You got another one about some kind of monster, a farmer and a meteor. And then, but the last one's nasty. The last one's like cockroaches. This rich dude gets messed up by. I forgot how it went. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it was cockroaches. I ain't never been creeped out by cockroaches or nothing, but it was pretty good. It was like trying to watch Joe's Apartment. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man,
yeah.
this is gross.
Right, man.
But yeah, Creep Show. Go watch the Creep Show.
Creep Show's a classic, man.
It's
Speaking of
classic.
speaking of classics, we're going down the road of comedy again here.
I like it.
Uh, you know, every generation's got a movie. Back in the '80s, we had two actually. Um,
Were they
I
both from this
don't.
year?
Oh, I don't remember when Porky's came out.
This year.
Was Porky's out this year?
Yeah. Yep.
How did I miss
Porky's is
that?
Porky's is in my
Porky's.
honorable mention.
Well, Porky's would be in. Okay, you know what though? Darn it!
Let me fact
I'll
check myself.
I'll have to put it in my honorable mention after all then
Release
because I mean
date.
it's too late for me to replace one now.
March 19th, 1982.
Wow. I would have replaced Silent Rage and put Silent Rage in honorable mention if I had known that. I don't know how I missed it.
You had to go with my other one then, because I got two right down in it. I was waiting to see if it was going to be Porky's or if it was going
Well,
to be the other one.
Fast Times.
Yep,
That's what I got. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
nice.
But is that what you got? Do you have that on yours as well?
It's on my right hand side of my list.
I
It's
mean,
not
is it
on
in
my
your?
list.
Is it in
It's
your?
like it's like honorable mentions.
Okay, so it's not your top 10.
No,
I was gonna say, I'll let you have it, and I'll take Porky's if that's the case. But so Fast Times at Ridgemont High, really, you cannot dismiss this one. And you know what? I'm gonna do something that we don't normally do.
what's that?
It's a tie. It's a tie between Porky's and Fast Times. No, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna do that. In all seriousness, though, do watch Porky's if you haven't seen Porky's. It's absolutely hilarious if you watch one and two. Don't bother
Yeah.
with three. Don't bother with Porky's three. Just one and two. You will not regret it because the humor. Every decade, every generation has their Porky's. All right, we've had American Pie and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, this was same generation, but Fast Times at Ridgemont High was very iconic. Sean Penn, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Judge Reinhold, Robert Romanus, Phoebe Cates, Brian Backer, Amanda Wiss.
Yep.
You had
I'm gonna say
Ray
this is
Walston as Mr. Hand. I mean, come on.
right. I will say this about Fast Times though. I think um I think that pop culture has proven actually. Now it's not just an opinion of mine. I think that pop culture has proven that if you were to put Fast Times up against Porky's, Fast Times ages better. Fast Times, all
It does.
generations can relate to Fast Times better than Porky's. So
That's true.
I think that generationally speaking, I think people would enjoy Fast Times more than Porky's.
I
Not
think
that
they
it's
would too.
funnier, not
No,
that it's any better or funnier.
Porky's is
I think
hands
the ages
down
better.
funnier.
Yeah, for sure.
Hands down a funnier movie. But
But I think it's
like you
funnier to
said,
us.
right. But kids, even of this generation, can understand and comprehend what's going on with Fast Times at Ridgemont High and know that it's an everyday thing for them too, basically.
Yeah, Fast Times is kind of timeless, man.
Mike Damone.
Like the movie.
Who's more memorable, Mike Damone or Jeff Spicoli?
Spicoli, man.
Gotta be
Spicoli all the
Spicoli.
way. Spicoli is
Yeah,
the most memorable. Ordering pizza in class. He banged his head self in the head with a damn Chuck Taylor, like do 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 do. He's like, that was my skull, dude. Like, yeah,
and then
Spicoli
of
for sure.
course, speaking of
And Phoebe Cates.
iconic, there you go. Speaking of iconic, Phoebe Cates coming up out of the pool.
Yeah, that's the yeah for sure.
Yeah, definitely right there. So that's one of the. I know it's my favorite part. But most definitely most memorable, and also friend of the show, Lori. If Lori Tucker, if you're listening,
Yeah,
we hope you're doing well, and we want to get you on again one day soon. She was going to come on around Christmas time if I could get her for one of the Christmas movies, but I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get it
yeah,
because we already had the Christmas movies taken up and everything, and she was going to do oh, I forget which one it was now. Darn it, Christmas Vacation, but
oh, that would have been.
but she didn't. We just didn't get a chance to get around to her again to let her know in time.
Mhm,
So we'll try and get her on soon. But she came on and talked about this movie with me back when we covered it. I don't think you were available that week, and she
yeah,
came on and talked about it, and it was a very fun conversation about the movie. She was able to tell me about the actual locations where it was filmed in the mall and stuff like that. There, she'd been to that very same mall many times herself as a young girl.
mhm,
Um, just an overall great movie. So,
heck yeah.
when, so hopefully, Lori, if you're listening, you're doing well. We miss you. We want to have you on one day soon. Uh, Travis, rounding out your list at number 10.
Rounding out my list at number 10, the great Christmas movie, December 17th release date. Um, Another one that's on the top of my list if we were going by genres. It's Jim Henson's Creature Shop in the Dark Crystal,
Oh,
starring Jim Henson himself
yes.
and Mr. Frank Oz. I mean, it had a lot more people in it. They were most of the voices. Uh, Jim Henson is actually. It surprises me that a lot of people don't know that the original voice of Kermit the Frog was Jim Henson himself. So
Yes.
Jim Henson himself, as Kermit, well, not as Kermit the Frog in a movie, but was Kermit the Frog, and a lot of other people. He was Ernie on Sesame Street. He was Rolf on the Muppets. He was
Ebert.
doggone. Yeah, Hubert, Hubert. He did a lot of stuff. Frank Oz was Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Sam the Eagle. Actually, Frank Oz, most notably, was Yoda.
Oh.
So,
Mm.
hmm, oh, Kermit, Kermit, oh, the Dark Crystal. Yeah, the Dark Crystal is just a complete fantasy adventure spectacular phenomenon. Think along the lines of, if you haven't seen it, think along the lines of like uh, maybe something like Legend or the Never Ending Story, or something around there. They actually had a sequel redone here not too long ago, just within the past 5 years, I think. That was also amazing. But yeah, this movie's just spectacular. The story's great. The the creature shop is just. I think this is to me. I think this may be this one in Labyrinth. Oh, I didn't even mention Labyrinth. This is very much the feel of Labyrinth. I think that this may be, in my opinion, the crowning achievement of the Jim Henson Creature Shop, because just the Labyrinth was on par, but this was completely done. There were no human actors in this at all. This was completely done with animatronics and puppets, and I don't think there were any robotic animatronics at all. I think it was all done with puppeteering, and it's just absolutely amazing. So if you haven't seen The Dark Crystal, even as an adult, if you enjoy weird stuff, because it would be weird to you now. As a child, it's just crazy awesome, but as an adult, you might think it's a little weird, but it's worth watching, and it is mind blowing the what went into making the movie. The you know what I mean, like the work, and it's just I can't even imagine. I don't even know how long it took to make it. The budget was 15 million, so it costed 15 million to do it, and they didn't have it. It was Sesame Street cast. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's impressive.
Definitely.
Heck yeah.
Um,
What rounds out your number 10?
My number 10 movie was the number one movie of all time, grossing movie until I believe Titanic came along.
Oh
I
wow,
think I think that's the one that overtook it.
Elliot,
Yep. The one that
Elliot,
made Reese's Pieces so
Elliot.
popular. All he wanted to
No,
do was
Reese's
phone
Pieces
home.
are delicious.
I know, and look, all he wanted to do was phone home. That's
All
it.
he was trying to do. He just wanted to
Yeah.
phone home.
I mean, the fact that he was an alien, an extraterrestrial, hence the
Uh-huh.
name ET.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just because he was that doesn't mean that he's not, you know, able to call home and go home.
100%.
No, that was as a kid, I really liked that movie. It was a fun movie to watch. I loved it. Um,
Sure.
Watched it plenty of times. One of those where it didn't get rented every time we went out, but it got rented quite often. We saw that at the theater too. You mentioned theaters earlier. Some of the others, ET, we did see at the theater.
Yeah.
So that was well
Well, I
worth
have a
going there
confession to
for.
make about ET.
You never saw it, did you?
No, I've seen it.
Okay.
I don't remember how old I was. I've seen it a couple times because I tried in adulthood to go back and see if I felt differently about it, and I don't. I'm not a fan. When I was a kid, when the first time I watched, that's unpopular opinion, I know, and I'm not saying it's a great movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie by
See,
any means.
I
It's a
figured you
wonderful
weren't a
movie.
fan because you didn't
I'm
list it
not.
your top 10. I figured
I,
you wasn't a fan of it.
it's on my sideline, but I did not list it because I just truly I appreciate, and see that's the way I am too though. I appreciate cinematics. I appreciate cinematography for what it is, and I can appreciate a movie that I don't like for still being good. Hence ET. I acknowledge ET for what it is. But I just personally just wasn't ever a fan. I thought when as a kid I thought it was boring, and then as an adult I thought it had some funny parts when he was running through the house and Elliot, 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 and as an adult I felt the same way. I felt like it was a cute movie, but not a
Hmm.
great movie. You know,
Right.
that's my confession. I had to
Hey,
make that. I've
hey,
never confessed that to anyone ever.
there's
So y'all are the
there
first to find out my dirty little secret. I'm not a
your
fan of ET the
dirty
extraterrestrial.
little secret.
That is my
That's
dirty
okay
little
though. Hey,
secret.
look, it's not for everybody, right? It's not for everybody.
It's a
Um,
wonderful movie.
it
It
is,
really is. It's a
it
good
is.
movie.
But I mean,
There's a
it may
reason
not.
why it
It
was the highest grossing of all time until Titanic. It's a very popular. A lot of people love it.
oh yeah,
I just
made the worst ever Atari video game.
uh,
That's another story for another podcast, though.
there you go.
Um, Speaking of which, we Mr. Scott Leftwich could tell us all about that.
Ah, yes, he could. Wieners
Um,
and losers.
Wieners and Losers. That's a '80s based arcade in North Carolina. Do
Heck
you
yeah.
remember where in North Carolina off the top of your head? I had to look it up.
Oh man, I don't. It
Sorry,
ain't in
Scott.
Raleigh.
No.
It ain't in
Well, it's
Raleigh,
in
is
North
it?
Carolina. You can look up Wieners and Losers. They have an '80s Airbnb, '80s based Airbnb that you can stay in. It's got every console game up to I believe PlayStation One, wasn't it?
Up to the disc area
Yeah,
era.
yeah. And up to there,
It's
and
in
then
Winston-Salem.
Winston. There you go, Winston Salem. And then of course he has an arcade full of late '70s through early to mid '80s
It is the
arcade games.
largest collection of largest working collection of golden era arcades. I think
I believe so
I'm
too.
not sure if
It
I'm
sounds
not
right.
sure if it's the entire country or if it's just the eastern sea, like the eastern half. I'm not sure. Maybe the largest in the country. I can't remember 100%.
And that's not
The
including
Lada
the game.
arcade.
And that's not including the game show they came out with this year too. So, um,
Yeah.
anyway, moving to the honorable mentions. I'm going to replace two of my honorable mentions because I didn't know Porky's. I forgot Porky's, and
Okay.
you've already named one of them anyway on yours. So I want people to hear other ones too that they can go ahead and still watch. So
Okay.
of course Porky's. I'm so mad I forgot Porky's and I didn't see it in time to write it down. I guess, but
Yep.
if you want to see the funniest scene from the movie, just go to YouTube and type Miss Ballbreaker in the principal's office or
Yes.
Porky's principal office scene.
Mm,
You will not be disappointed. Um,
love it.
I'm gonna throw out there Airplane 2
I like it.
because it wasn't as good as the first one, but it still got that crazy humor in it. And
Hmm.
if you like the first one, you may like the second one if you haven't seen it or just want a good refresher. Um, Zapped with Scott Baio and Willie Ames. That was a fun little comedy. He had developed, I guess, telekinesis or something like that.
Yeah.
Heather Thomas is in the movie as well.
Hmm.
Forced Vengeance, Chuck Norris. I mentioned that earlier when I was talking about Silent Rage.
Hmm.
Briefly, I mentioned it, but didn't really talk about it. But it's one of his earlier movies, and it was good. Um, Star Trek Two: The Wrath of Khan, which you had. No, I'm sorry. That's one of them I was replacing. I had Conan and Star Trek Two on here, and since you didn't mention them in yours, yeah, we'll take them out. Last one, I chose. Um, it's one of those iconic kind of early '80s movies too, though, just like Fast Times was.
Yeah.
And just so happens, friend of the show was in that, Miss Diane Franklin,
Hey,
last
hey.
last American Virgin.
There you go.
So those are my honorable mentions that I chose
I
for
like
my
it.
1982. How about you? What do you have there?
So if I'm crossing off the honorable, if I'm crossing off half of them, that what we've already mentioned, and what you have in your honorables, I got to throw in Blade Runner
Yep.
as an honorable mention. Uh,
Yep.
Classic. If you hadn't seen Blade Runner, go watch it right now. If you're a sci-fi fan, Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, you don't even need anything else. Blade Runner's great, and I threw in another. I would be remiss to not mention the great Charles Bronson in Death Wish 2.
Yeah, I
I
thought
watched
about that. I really did.
I watched all the Death Wish movies with my dad. My dad was big on Charlie Bronson, or Chuck Bronson. I threw in another. Gotta have this one in here, man. Of the hack and slash movies, the slasher, serial killer, whatever movies of the '80s, this one was one of the biggest. Sleepovers, parties, teenagers, preteens. This
Slumber
movie was
Party
on.
Massacre.
Yes, Slumber Party Massacre. This movie
Yeah,
was on deck, especially for
we're
females at that event.
we
That
were
movie,
online on that when we were all in same thought process there. I
yeah.
almost picked it too.
So you gotta have the Slumber Party Massacre. That movie was on deck at any of them. Then I got Swamp Thing. Um, Swamp Thing wasn't. It wasn't amazing. The special effects aren't incredible. Um, but just as a comic fan and nerd and this and that, going back to see Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing is actually um, the creature. It's kind of a creature from the Blue Lagoon spinoff type thing. So scary movie stuff too. You know what I mean? Swamp Thing's good if you like that sort of thing. It's a different kind of movie. It's not as bad as Toxic Avenger. Um, it's kind of it's its own thing. I don't know how
Yeah,
to I don't know how to tell you about the Swamp Thing. And then my other one was I believe it starred uh oh man, come on, I know his name, Ben Kingsley, I think, as one of the most iconic names in history would be Gandhi.
Gandhi. Yeah,
Yeah, the big Gandhi movie came out in 1982. It's touted to this day to still be the absolute best. It was not Ben Kingsley. It was. Hang on a second. Hang on. It was Ben Kingsley. I was right. It was Ben Kingsley. I saw the picture and I was like, that's not Ben Kingsley, but it is. It was Ben Kingsley that played Gandhi. The movie is 3 hours and 11 minutes long, but it's a really incredible watch. It's along the lines of watching something like although this one held closer to factual events and what took place. It's kind of like watching The King of Scotland or uh, the movie about Mandela. I think it's just called Mandela. It's kind of like watching one of those movies. Gandhi's a great movie.
all
So
right. Well,
that was one of my. Oh, and uh, Richard Attenborough directed it. That's not the same Richard Attenborough that does the that does the wildlife stuff, is it? Or is that David
I,
Attenborough? That's David
I
Attenborough, I think.
I'm not sure.
I can't
I'm
remember.
not sure. You were speaking of the movie earlier, but the special effects and everything, any kind of crazy or something.
Yeah.
A little cheesy. The one before this one, I think, before Gandhi. What was it?
What was it now?
What was the movie that you had that kind of said the graphics were kind of cheesy and stuff on it? It was
Swamp
over
Thing.
there. It was Swamp Thing, yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of some cheesy graphics and stuff, it just made me think. I wrote it down earlier, then I crossed it back off.
I know
Megaforce.
why I recognize Richard. What is it? Oh, Megaforce.
Megaforce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know why I recognize. I know why Richard Attenborough. It wasn't. It was David Attenborough that I was thinking of, but he was Professor Hammond, and he directed Jurassic Park. He was the old man and the director of Jurassic Park.
Did he directed it?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Knew he was in it, but I didn't know he directed it. That's cool. All right. Well, I guess we're at the end of the show here, man. We are an hour and 5 minutes in, so
There we go.
uh, we are go ahead and wrap this thing on up here, and we hope you enjoy the top 10 list that we did, and that you will go out and watch some of these movies if you have not seen them, and we hope you'll watch them again if you have. Let us know in the comments below here on YouTube on the video or on email at retrolife4u@gmail.com what you thought about the top 10 and what yours might be, any movies you thought should have made the list that didn't, and we'd love to hear from you on it. Like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show, Facebook, Instagram, make sure you're following us on there, and YouTube as well. And we have a website you can watch and listen to through your browser, which is www.retrolife, the number four, the letter u.com. In the show notes, you can see the video and click on it there and play it, or you can listen to the audio through your browser. So I think everybody already knows we're on Spotify and iTunes and all your major places where you get your downloads at as well. So, Travis, I would like to close us out this week with something. I have this problem going on, and
Okay.
I feel robbed. I feel
Yeah.
robbed. First off, I mean, this has been a long list we've done here, 10 apiece and everything, and I'm tired. I worked all day today, and I'm gonna have to go to bed here soon. But the problem is that somebody came here and they stole my bed,
Yeah.
and I just want that person that stole my bed to know that I'm not going to rest until I find them.